single sentence that Bhaktivedanta Thakur writes that is irrelevant. Everything is creating such a picture of pure devotion for our journey, our progress.
Chapter 1, Part 5. This compilation presents the following select clips.
We went over this topic, but we'll have to go it again because it's so important to appreciate where are we in the world of energies. Who are we? We are Antaranga Shakti, but we're also influenced towards Bahiranga. We're marginal. We're in this Tatashtha. There's the internal energy and the external energy. And Krishna wanted an entity that could relate to both of those energies. So the Jiva was manifested from the Tatashtha region. So I said yesterday that Tatashtha is not a geographical location. It's a state of consciousness, marginal. And we're in that state of consciousness constantly. I said also yesterday how it's not a historic decision that we made to come into this world, but it's a ever-present decision that we're experiencing daily. We want to do this, which is towards Krishna, and then again, we're oppressed by the delusion of this world, and we get influenced by Maya, and we neglect that service to Krishna again and again. So we're oscillating. So this is causing great disturbance to the consciousness to remain steady in his progress forward. But gradually, with the purity of the heart and the chanting and the mercy of Guru and the mercy of all these personalities that, like we've been describing, we are hungry for mercy, that kripa, to take us forward. Yes. So the boundary region between land and the water of a river is known as a tata, or shore. This tata may be considered to be both land and water. In other words, it is situated in both. We see on the beach, on the shoreline, where is the edge of the beach? It's changing every second, it's moving, it's fluctuating. Sometimes it's covered, sometimes it's not covered, so it's not defined, it's not definitive. So this Tatashtha is like that. We are fluctuating between the two states of consciousness. The divine Isa Shakti, which is situated in the border region, upholds the properties of both land and water, as it were, in one existential entity. So we are that existential entity. We are that existential entity that is able to have these two energies manifesting simultaneously. But our path is very clear. We are seeing the deformity of Maya, and we're seeing the beauty of Krishna consciousness, and we're working towards that path. The Jiva's nature is spiritual, but still his composition is such that he can become controlled by Jaiva Dharma, the inert nature. Yes, so essentially we are spirit. We should always remember that in every single instance. So yes, we are capable of a relationship with the Supreme Lord, but this influence of inanimate matter, these are all lessons that we've been hearing for so many years. But how much realized are we in these topics? How much have we realized these topics? That's why we need to hear them repeatedly. Because in the heat of the moment, in the cold winter morning when you're taking a shower, do we know we're not the body when we're jumping in there? And in the heat of summer, do we know we're not the body when we're experiencing so much oppression from the elements, etc. So in all of these cases, we need to be constantly reminding ourselves of this moment. We are in a predicament, but we can purify this predicament and come out by understanding these topics clearly. Especially at some point, we are all going to die. Are we going to be present-minded sufficiently in our consciousnesses to be appreciating I am spirit? Now my body is deteriorating and dying, even though it perhaps is bringing so much pain. The temperature rises to such a high degree when we leave the body, the mind becomes bewildered. But have we practiced sufficiently in this birth? And how does that point of affection begin to manifest? By appreciating the enormity of the affection between Radha and Krishna. When we meditate on the sweetness and speciality of their relationship and how astonishing is the love that Radha has for Krishna. It's beyond words, this chamatkara, astonishing, completely vichitrata, this achintya, the height and depth of this love. So we are witnessing this. So now in my own vision as a conditioned jiva, how can I bring my heart to, at minimum, serve Sri Radhika in her service to Krishna by hearing more and more of the sweetness and speciality of the pastimes, especially all pastimes in Vrindavan, of course. When we hear these leelas, they can melt the heart. We must hear the leelas, not simply gyan, not simply be packed up with philosophical conclusions, etc. I've said so many times, my Gurudev used to say that gyan is like the horse and the leela is like the rider. We want to hear repeatedly about the loving pastimes between Radha and Krishna and the Sakhis, and especially between the Manjaris and Sri Radhika, because this is the gift that Mahaprabhu is bestowing on the jivas at this particular time, this Swabhakti Shriyam. This is the gift. So always we're focusing and remembering this, cultivating a mood of affection and love by service. When we perform service, you can't perform loving service unless you have a loving relationship with the object, can you? If you're doing your bhoga offering, but you're not feeling any affinity with the Lord, you're not it's just like a ritual. It's like a smarta Brahman. You're just doing it, ringing the bell, chanting the mantras, but not really considering what you're doing. Many times the devotees become almost abstract, almost impersonal, because they're not considering the object of their worship sufficiently. So it's very important to be taking stock of my focus. My Gurudev used to say at least 5 times a day we should assess the strength of my devotion. Am I really performing devotional service? Am I becoming more devoted to the object of my attraction? Or is it just a ritualistic thing? Of course, initially it is ritualistic because I don't know anything else. So I'm just doing what I have, the instructions that I have respect for those masters who are teaching me this. So I'm doing it like that. But at some point that has to transform into a reality. We talked about vigyan, not just gyan. It has to translate into vigyan, where I'm experiencing direct perception. Pratyakshavagaman dharmyam. This is described in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This knowledge can be perceived by direct perception. So we have to bring it to this place to be a reality. Otherwise it's just mental and just gyan and becomes dry. The jiva's nature is spiritual, but still his composition is such that he can become controlled by Jad Dharma, that means dull Dharma, the inert nature. Therefore, the Bada Jiva, conditioned soul, is not beyond all connection with matter, unlike the jivas in the spiritual domain. The jivas in the spiritual domain, it's described in chapter 16, don't even know Maya exists. But we do have this attraction because we're encased in these material bodies, and unless we're finding bliss in our service towards the Lord, we will, for sure, seek bliss in the material world. So we must keep up the steam, so to speak. Nonetheless, he is distinct from dull matter because of his animate spiritual nature. Since the jiva is by nature different from both the purely spiritual entities and dull matter, he is classified as a separate principle. So it's not really an easy situation to be in, to be a jiva in the conditioned world, because like we're stuck between these two abilities to associate with spirit, and because I am spirit, and the fact that I've forgotten that nature, and to be attracted towards the material nature. It bangs us around from side to side. We have to be very careful and very serious and very determined to leave that illusory world of pleasure behind and seek the pleasure of Krishna carefully. Therefore, the eternal distinction between Bhagavan and the jiva must be accepted. Bhagavan is the supreme ruler of Maya, his external potency which creates bewilderment, which is under his full control. The jiva, on the other hand, may under certain circumstances be controlled by Maya, for he is subject to its influence. Hence, these three principles, Bhagavan, the jiva, and Maya, are real, paramartik, satya, and eternal. So only these three principles are vastus, Bhagavan, the jiva, and Maya. These are the three vastus. Of these three, Bhagavan is the supreme eternal principle, is the foundation of the other principles. The following statement of Sri Katha Upanishad 2.2.13 confirms this. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. He is the supreme eternal amongst all eternals, and the fundamental sentient being amongst all sentient beings. How wonderful to know that conclusively, that he is the supreme eternal. Whatever sort of Maya I get into, he's still going to be the supreme eternal. And I must keep remembering him to save me from this attraction to the illusory energy. The jiva is by nature both an eternal servant of Krishna and a representation of his marginal potency. This demonstrates that the jiva is distinct from Bhagavan, yet at the same time is not separate from him. He is therefore a manifestation that is both different and non-different, a Beda Prakash. The jiva is subject to domination by Maya, whereas Bhagavan is the controller of Maya. Herein lies the eternal distinction between the jiva and Bhagavan. On the other hand, the jiva is by his constitutional nature a transcendental entity, Chid Vastu, and Bhagavan is also by nature Chid Vastu. Moreover, the jiva is a special potency of Bhagavan. Herein lies the eternal non-distinction between these two. Where eternal distinction and non-distinction are found at one and the same time, eternal distinction takes prominence. Very obvious. We gave the example yesterday. We're talking about a spoonful of water from the ocean. The distinction between the quantity of a spoonful of water and the vast ocean is just enormous. But the quality of the water in this teaspoon is the same as the quality in the ocean. This is the condition of the jiva. Now, just for a moment, we can turn ahead to page 346. And you see down the bottom of 346, this is opening out and explaining more the
Similarity.
non-difference between Krishna and the jiva. First, the similarity, yes. So, the question that Brajana is asking, what is the difference between Isvara and the jiva? Babaji, first you should understand the non-difference between Isvara and the jiva. And after that, I'll explain their eternal difference. Isvara is the embodiment of knowledge, Gyan Swarup, the knower, Nata Swarup, one who considers or reflects, Manta Swarup, and the enjoyer, Bhaktri Swarup. He is self-effulgent, Swaprakash, and he also illuminates others, Paraprakash. He has his own desires, Ichamayi, and he is the knower of all, Ketra Gyan. The jiva too is the form of knowledge, the knower, and the enjoyer. He too is self-effulgent, and he illuminates others. For example, if you're feeling very happy and joyful, you can make others feel happy and joyful and illuminated. You have your own aura, effulgence. Krishna has his aura and effulgence. You have the propensity to enjoy. Krishna has the propensity to enjoy. We can reflect and consider Manta, and Krishna also reflects. We know something of our own individual bodies. Krishna, but the distinction is that Krishna knows all bodies. This is the distinction. So there's 9 of them actually altogether, and they're very, very helpful to commit to memory, to actually know this. Gyan Swarup, Nata Swarup, Bhakti Swarup, Mantra Swarup, Paraprakash, Swaprakash, Ketra Gyan, Ichamai, and Shuddha Deha, a pure spiritual body. We have a pure spiritual body. Krishna has a pure spiritual body. That's the one that's missing from here. But we both have spiritual bodies. These are the similarities. So Babaji is expert. He's explaining the similarities first. The jiva too is the form of knowledge. The knower, the enjoyer. He too is self-effulgent and he illuminates others. And he too has desires and is the knower of his own field. From this perception, there is no difference between them. However, Ishvara is omnipotent, and by dint of his omnipotency, he is the basis of all these qualities, which are present in him in full. These qualities are also present in the atomic jiva, but only in a minute degree. Thus, the nature and form of Ishvara and the jiva are eternally different from each other, because one is complete and the other is minute. And at the same time, there is a lack of distinction between Ishvara and jiva, because the similarity between their qualities. So this is a place where you can mark in your personal indexes, whatever. The Nitya Dharma of the jiva is servitorship to Krishna. This is the big distinction. When he forgets this, he is subjugated to the tyranny of Maya, and from that very moment, he becomes diverted from Krishna. The fall of the jiva does not take place within the context of material time. This is what I was saying before. It's not a historic fall that we had. It's a continuous. Non-material time has no material past, present, and future. We are in material time, so we're trying to put a point. When did I make that? But actually it was made in the eternal realm. And then, but we are continually making that decision to turn away from Krishna.
We were eternally Baddha.
Yes, we're eternally Baddha until we're not eternally Baddha. This is a wonderful appreciation. We are Baddha Jiva, but there will become a time when we lose that conditioning and we embrace Krishna fully, and then we are no longer eternally bound. So in a sense, it seems like eternal because it's from time immemorial that we have been bound. And while we are bound, it seems eternal. But there is an end to the bondage, without a doubt, when we connect in love, service to Krishna.
So once when Baddha Jivi becomes eternally liberated,
Of course.
so he becomes Nitya Siddha?
Yes. Yes, eternally liberated. Like we have the sadhana siddha gopis. We have those nitya siddha gopis, and then we have the sadhana siddha gopis also. That you can be bound eternally, and then you're not bound eternally. So the word eternal isn't actually fully eternal, because there is a limitation on the eternal. If you get free, that's the point. That depends on our own responsibility. It's not a magic thing going to happen. Of course, many magical things will happen by the Lord's mercy. But in principle, the jiva has to take responsibility for that decision to fully die to live, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Maharaj said. Just drop the whole material conception completely. Die to live. It is meaningless. That place of refuge we keep taking, that security of my mind, my body, my family, my country, my home, everything. This is all ephemeral. It's all nimitic.
We are Chid Vastu and not this. And how do we implement that in our daily life? So we keep getting thoughts about which is not related to Krishna. So how do we deal with that?
It's a process. It's a process. It's a process. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said the first point of bhajan, now think about this, is patience. We have to have patience with ourselves. We have to have patience with the length of time it's going to take to purify our dirty conditioned consciousnesses from billions of years in different bodies, etc. They have to be purified. That takes time. These distracting thoughts that come in for our own sense gratification, exploitation of the world, they will come in. But what sort of determination am I having to leave those aside?
So like a sadhak, how does he deal with that? Like sometimes it's frustrating.
He takes shelter of his guru. I can remember once having a most amazing dream about my Gurudev, and I was standing with my Gurudev. And the whole time I was standing with him, I was aware that negative thoughts were coming into my mind at the same time as I was standing with him. And those negative thoughts took the form of like black crows with very sharp razor hoods on their heads. And they were like attacking me, attacking my consciousness while I was standing with my Gurudev. And my Gurudev was pushing them all back as they were coming. He was deflecting them all. And I was feeling wonderful because none of these black thoughts were actually allowed to enter by the mercy of my Guru. So the answer to your question, Gokul, is the mercy of Guru is going to be very instrumental in this, keeping these dark negative thoughts aside. But as we progress, Guru is not constantly going to be there, deflect. We have to grow up and we have to deflect those thoughts ourselves. That means we have to make a decision that we don't want to enjoy those thoughts because we have those thoughts because we get some taste from them. That's why we have the thoughts. It comes to us, it's attracting to us because we want those thoughts. So when I decide, no, I don't want to go that journey anymore, that genuinely at the very core of my heart isn't even a smell, not even a scent of desire for my own pleasure in this world. It's like if you see a bird fly in the sky and it goes out of your vision, let it go. Let it come in and let it go. Let it come in and let it go. Don't grab it, play with it, taste it, relish it. Otherwise we're doomed. Let it go when the thought comes in. So easy to say these words. Sitting here and saying these words is easy. But the reality of this is time and practice. It's the practice becoming serious. To know that this world is temporary. It really is temporary. It's of a lower state of consciousness. It's not a fit place for a gentleman to live in this world. There's nothing of value in this world. Nothing. That means all my previous conditioning has to be left aside. It's meaningless. And this present time in the global arena, it's become easier for that. Many hospital practices, for example, the whole medical industry is being revealed as a bunch of charlatans. This is the truth. You go to hospital to die, basically, these days, or to give the doctors a livelihood. You don't go there to get cured necessarily. That's just one example. And then there are many other examples, like they talk about fake news, etc. It's like everything we receive from the media, it's got a twist on it. It's all in someone else's interest. So it makes it very easy for the sensitive practicing devotee to reject all of those things because they're so false. Why should I listen to any broadcast about what's happening in the world when I'm understanding all of the broadcast speakers are all false? They all have an agenda. So it's like the very core of everything. So it's helpful for the devotees to reject more and more of conditioned life and these boundaries. We have to pray, Gokul. Pray. Okay, I'm determined to finish this chapter today. So let me just read to the end. Accordingly, the words Anadi Bahya Mukh are used, meaning that the jiva has been diverted since time without beginning. That's what we're talking about. That's why we're called Bada Jivas. From the moment of this diversion and the jiva's entry into Maya, his Nitya Dharma becomes perverted. I'm saying that everything that we have faith in, the Dharma in this world, is perverted. And because of the situation on the planet now, it's more easy to see that because it's become so accelerated. The sinful acts on the planet have increased. So it's easier to see them and recognize them. The debauchery, like they talk about, what's this, transgender and stuff like that. It's just so crazy. I mean, you don't have to be such an intelligent person to realize how mad things have become. So how easy is it for us to reject that whole package of material aspirations and life? We can sit separately from it and we can fully take shelter of the Lord. It's to our advantage. This is the darkest age of Kali, and Mahaprabhu has descended in this age to give Raganuga Bhakti, which is phenomenal. Now he's giving us an increased support and incentive to take deeper shelter because the world is just collapsing in such a ridiculous way. You don't even have to be intelligent to realize how stupid it all is. Entry into night. His Nitya Dharma becomes perverted. Therefore, by the association of Maya, the jiva develops nishag, an acquired nature. Never forget this word. It's beautiful. Nishag, acquired nature, which thus facilitates the display of his temporary function and disposition known as Naimitic Dharma. This Naimitic Dharma is going to be talked about many times. Third chapter is Naimitic Dharma should be rejected. relinquished, yes. The Nitya Dharma, eternal function, is one, indivisible, and faultless in all different situations. Now he's addressing Sannyasi Thakur's question. He asked him originally, what is true Dharma? Why are there so many interpretations of Dharma? Now he's saying that true Dharma is faultless. It's without any blemish. Nitya Dharma, eternal function, is one, indivisible, and faultless in all different situations. But the Nimitic Dharma, temporary function, assumes many different forms when seen in diverse circumstances and when it is described in various ways by men of divergent opinions. We were saying yesterday, when you have these different traditions in other countries, you have different climates, different foods, different dress, different civilization, the culture, everything in. So they've wound their particular set of values and principles around those influences, and they've left the original Dharma, and they've become influenced just by the external aspect of it. Therefore, they're calling their religion, oh, this is the best, or whatever. And then they fight about with each other, which means it can't be really religion. It's not Dharma. It's a big, beautiful point that Bhaktivedanta Thakur is bringing to our attention right at the beginning. What is true Dharma? We need to meditate on these topics deeply. Having spoken thus, Paramahamsa Babaji stopped and began to chant Sri Harinam Japa. Hearing this explanation of spiritual truths, Sannyasi Thakur offered prostrated obeisances and said, Prabhu, I shall deliberate on all these topics today. Tomorrow I shall submit at your lotus feet any questions that may arise. So thus ends the first chapter of Jaiva Dharma. The basic thread, the essence, has been established in this first chapter. I said previously, my Gurudev has said that out of all these chapters, the first 4 are the most important. Out of the first 4, the first 2. And out of the first 2, the first 1. Everything has been said here. If you read nothing else except this first chapter, you've gone a long way with your spiritual progress, without a doubt. So this chapter is really important to absorb fully. Gurudev, Gurudev.